Hopefully you just watched a 1-minute video where you saw that a cylinder and a cone have a direct relationship. Basically, the cone should be a third of the volume of the cylinder. That's the video that you just saw where she was pouring it in from one to the other. So, that's basically all this, what's a cone, you know what a cone is. How many cones of water need to fill the cylinder? There are 3. What fraction of the cylinder is being filled by the volume of the cone? It's 1/3. Well, that's the entire point. So if you know what the equation of the volume of the cylinder is, which we do, the volume of the cylinder is volume is equal to pi r squared times h. So if I just said, well, if the volume of this is 1/3 of the cylinder, don't you just multiply that by 1/3? So in other words, the volume formula of this is equal to 1/3 pi r squared h. Or another way of saying that is pi r squared h all divided by 3. So you could say pi r squared h over 3. And that's it. And explain in your own words how the volume cone compares to the cylinder. It's 1/3. The cone is 1/3 of the cylinder, and the cylinder is 3 times the cone. And describe the parts of the formula. Well, you know what pi is. You know what this is. This is the radius. This is the height. So having a look at the next page, they've drawn a couple of cones for you. Now this one is like someone dropped their ice cream cone on the ground upside down. So you can see that that's a circle right there. This guy right here is the radius. And the height right here it's not indicated in this, but you have to actually understand that this needs to be a 90-degree angle, and it's dropped down to the middle of the cone right here. So the very tippy top of the cone down to the bottom. So this is the height. Here's the radius. We've got all the stuff we need in order to plug them in to our newfound formula, which is just basically the volume of a cylinder divided by 3, or 1/3 times all that. So hopefully you have calculators still, so let's just plug in some numbers. So V equals pi, R is 5 squared, times the height, which is 8, all divided by 3. So press pause, hammer through that, and again, remember they want it in terms of pi and as a decimal. So in other words, don't multiply this 5 squared and 8 times the pi at all, just leave it as pi. So in other words, do all of this stuff and leave the pi as the symbol. Okay, press pause. So when I squared the 5 and times 8 and divide by 3, I ended up with 66.6 repeating times pi. Or if you just take that number and divide it by, multiply it by pi, that times pi is that. Those are the 2 answers. Go ahead and try number 5, set it up by yourself. Just make sure that this is a radius, not a diameter, which it is. And now the height is upside down, which it is. So go ahead and do number 5, and I'll reveal the answer. Okay, I actually gave you the answer to this. It's just this squared times this. 15 squared is 225 times 20 is 2,000 times pi feet cubed. Or if you multiply 2,000 times 3.14, you get 6283, etc. And I've actually given you the answer to this as well. So you can write these answers down and try them on your own to make sure you get them, but I'm going to go through number 7 because it's, again, the tricky one. Here they are giving you the diameter. So if the diameter is 9 meters, if from here all the way to here is 9, the radius is exactly half of that. So that would be 4½ is our radius. So now let's use these numbers and go ahead and work through it. So same formula, V equals pi, radius is 4.5 squared, r squared times the height of 4.2, and then since it's a cone, you divide all that by 3. So press pause, calculate that with this magic blue box, and get your answer. So that squared times that divided by 3, ignoring the pi, all those numbers are just multiplication, exponent multiplication, division. That's where the 28.35 comes from, times pi. Or if you multiply them out, you get 89.1, and they're both meters cubed. Okay, and now the next thing is the same as before, and this time they're going to give you different parts of this formula. They're not going to give you the height and the radius. they're going to give you the volume, and you're going to have to find one of them. So we'll do 8 and 9 together, and then we'll call it quits on this video too, and you'll have I'd like you to work through these on your own, giving yourself a little challenge there. Again, the keys are, of course, online, so give yourself a challenge, see if you can figure these out. So, volume of a cone is 122.8. They tell if its height is 4.5, so volume equals pi, they're looking for diameter, right? Remember, diameter is twice the radius. So pi r squared times 4.5. How do I know I'm looking for radius? Well, they're asking us to find the diameter, and the diameter and radius are exactly either half of each other or twice each other, depending on which one you're looking for. So now this is literally just 3.14 times that number. So using the calculator, 3.14, and of course you could use the pi key if you look right here if you wanted. So if I use that, it would just do that. Times 4.5 equals. Now that's this times this. Now since we're talking about a cone though, don't I also have to do this divided by 3? So again, take that number and divide by 3. So that times that divided by 3 is 4.71. So 122.8, I'm just moving over here, equals 4.712. 4.712, that's this divided by this, times r squared. And of course we're trying to solve for r squared, so we're going to divide both sides by 4.712. 4.712. So r squared is going to equal whatever 122.8 divided by 4.712 is. That's going to be 26.06, but we're not looking for the radius squared, we're looking for the radius, so you actually have to get the square root of that. So the square root of 26.06 is, and again now we're finding the radius, is 5.1, which is our radius. But they don't want the radius, they want the diameter. So well, if the diameter is twice the radius, the diameter just means approximately, remember these are all approximate because we're rounding for pi, double that. So twice 5.1 is 10.2. Now we've actually answered the question of finding the diameter. Okay, I'm going to press pause here to actually look at which one of these last three we will do together. So having a look at this, the only differences between 8 and 9 is you're looking for the height. Again, it's pretty easy. So I'm going to skip down to number 11 here. So a glass in the shape of a cone has a diameter of 8. Well, that means that my radius is exactly half of that, of 4. And it tells us the volume is 200. And it's asking us what is the greatest depth. Well, what does that word sound like to you? Depth in terms of our formula up here is probably going to be related to the height. So they're probably asking us for the height, which is pretty much what this is. It's the same thing. So looking at this, it looks like there's pretty easy numbers. Our volume is 200. Pi is our buddy. Our radius is now 4 squared. They're telling us diameter is 8. And we're looking for the height. And don't forget it's a cone, so we got to divide by 3. Okay, and again, this is a number, this is 16, so 3.14 times 16, all divided by 3. That just becomes some number. So I'll just insert what you see here. Pi times 4 squared equals, divided by 3 equals 16.755. So 200 equals 16.755 H. Divide by 16.755, divide by 16.755, those cancel. So whatever 200 divided by 16.755 is 11.93, so it's approximately 11.9, looks like centimeters here. So again, you just got to know what it is you're asked to find, and you got to know where to plug it into the formula. So to recap, the two formulas that you should have memorized by now for a cylinder, a soda can, it's the volume is equal to the area of the big base times the height. That's this times the height. And since the base of a cylinder is a circle, it's really pi r squared, right? That's what the big base is. And for a cone, it's basically this exact same formula except divided by 3. Sorry about not zooming in. So let me try that again. A circle is pi r squared times the height. A cone is just this formula, pi r squared h divided by 3, or 1/3 pi r squared h. Okay, knock yourselves out with homework. The keys are online. Be nice, behave. I'll see you next time.